Hi guys again, welcome back. Good to see you. Now, today we're going to look at some grammar. Okay, we've looked at already all the language and vocabulary we need. Today we're going to look a little bit closely at some very, very important grammar structures for you to learn for your IELTS. Specifically, we're going to look at relative clauses. Okay, do you know what relative clauses are? Okay, well, relative clauses are a way of, we can use this grammar to combine two simple sentences together, okay? So, for example, you might write two very simple sentences, but in IELTS you want to show the examiner that you can write longer, more complicated sentences. So, we can use relative clauses to put two sentences into one sentence, okay? Another way we might use relative clauses is if we have a number of different pieces of information about the variable, what we're describing. Let's say, for example, it's hamburger consumption. Okay, you might want to add two pieces of information about hamburger consumption from the graph. For example, you might want to say that it is rising, and you might also want to say how many grams it started at and how many grams it ended at. Okay, so you're giving a rise with some numbers, some amounts, okay, and some relative clauses can help us put these two pieces of information into a sentence. Basically, we're adding extra detail about the variable that we're describing, okay? So, how are we going to look at this? Well, first of all, we're going to look at the structure of relative clauses. First of all, we will look at defining relative clauses. Defining relative clauses are clauses which are necessary. Okay? Now, when we're describing something, for example, again, hamburger consumption, there might be more information about hamburger consumption that is necessary. Or if we're describing people, we might need to say which people we're talking about. So, if you don't have the relative clause, then the reader doesn't know which or what you're talking about. So you need the relative clause to tell the reader which or what we're talking about. And we use defining relative clauses. The relative clause defines what we're talking about. It gives us important information. Then we'll take a look at the opposite, which is non-defining relative clauses. And in this case, this is extra information which is not 100% necessary, but it is giving the reader some extra detail. Okay? The reader will understand the point without the extra information. However, you want to add extra information to make it more interesting, okay? To make it more detailed. And for this type of idea, we have non-defining relative clauses. Okay? And then we're going to take the relative clauses that we've looked at, and we're going to see how we use them with prepositions. Okay? So using prepositions in relative clauses. First of all, thinking about the word order, and also using this key preposition, the word with. Okay? So, let's take a look at some examples. Now, with the examples I'm going to give you, first of all, I'm going to give you two separate sentences, okay? And these two separate sentences will be sentences which give us the information that we want the reader to understand. However, if you give it in two separate sentences, it's probably too simple. It's too easy, okay? And we're going to look at a sentence which brings these two sentences into one, okay? So combining the sentences together using a relative clause. First of all, we're going to look at specifically the structure of defining relative clauses. Okay, let's take a look at our first examples. Now, we can take this sentence, for example. A certain number of people owned a mobile phone. Okay, this sentence doesn't tell us how many, but it just tells us the information about owning a mobile phone. Okay?